Welcome. Welcome everybody. Welcome one more time. We here with reverse engineer mindset conversations, and in this time I have another colleague from the Jay Shetty school. Thank you so much for being here, Odette. How are you?
Hi, how are you, Omar? Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited and I'm doing great.
Nice. Awesome. Excellent. There you go. It is so great to have you here. Me personally, I'm really grateful for you taking the time to make this happen. I know that it's a Saturday, so I really appreciate it. I'm really excited for you to tell us all about you and how do you get involved in this life coaching. But before we get there, I just wanna acknowledge you for all the things that you're doing. Because when you send me your story, the first thing that attract me is the early age you start this personal development. And for me, I had never. I started personal development 10 years ago, so I was like in my late 20s when I started personal development. Actually, it was 30 when I started personal development. So for me, it's like, wow, why would it happen? Like the first question it came to my mind is like, why would it happen? I would have started at 19 years old
Yeah.
instead of going through a different process that I decided to go in a different direction. But what would it happen if I could invest and put all the effort now that I'm doing at that early age? So the first question I have is first tell us a little bit about yourself, but then we'll go with the question. But the question is like 90 years old. That is amazing. So I really want to congratulate you for being such a career of personal development. It's just really admirable. I'll be honest with you. It's really impressive. I'll be honest with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's definitely been a lifelong passion of mine, something that I've always loved. Um, it actually sometimes through difficulty is how we grow
Mhm.
and we learn and when I was a teenager, I actually went through an emergency surgery. It was a surprise, it was unexpected. And
Mhm.
as a result of that, I just remember feeling so much pain, both physical pain and emotional pain. So it was kind of
Mhm.
traumatic for me in a way. And at the same time, I did learn a lot through that experience. But
Mhm.
it ignited in me during my recovery. I just became so interested in the whole mind body connection and in yoga, meditation, and also in just health and wellness and personal development in general. And
Mhm.
while I was recovering, I just was reading just a lot of different books on the topics, and that's where it started. And I never stopped.
Mhm.
I just kept learning and studying just on my own and following these experts, and also implementing a lot of the stuff that I was learning. I've always journaled. I've always done affirmations. I've tried to live, be clear on my values and principles, and live in that way. But one of the big lessons that I learned during that experience, as a result of that experience, is that human beings are really resilient, and we're able to endure and overcome pain,
Mhm.
real pain, both physical and emotional. Um, we're able to overcome it, and with patience and self care and time, we can heal. So that was an important lesson that I learned at that time. But that's where
Mhm.
it all began. That's where my love of personal development and all of this began as a result of that painful experience, negative experience. And that's kind of been a theme every time something difficult has happened in my life. That's been an opportunity for me to grow and learn.
Mhm.
So,
Wow, that is really powerful. Very interesting. The fact that you were able to identify that we are it's like pretty much craving pain. Like it's part of us. It's like if we don't have pain, we don't feel content. We don't feel happy. We don't feel like we have it our lives together, right? Well, first, I want to continue, but first, Nisha is here. Nisha, hello, Nisha.
Aisha.
Nisha. Yeah, thank you for watching. It's really awesome to have you here. And for me, when you say that you well, obviously that life event started your journey when it comes down to personal development. What is the thing that attract you when it comes down to personal development? Obviously you mentioned wellness, being healthy, yoga, and what are the things that, or the first steps you took in order for you to get into that particular path?
Well, at the time, so that happened when I was a teenager, and it kind of like sparked the interest, and I've maintained it till today, and it's just evolved over time. But eventually, in my early 20s, I got married, started a family, started a business, and then I was working in corporate for a little bit before I eventually left my corporate job and just dedicated myself to my family and business. But what I began learning as a teenager, and it's, you keep learning and you make mistakes. It's not like you know it and you're done. We will
Mm-hmm.
continue learning. But I was able to apply. I feel like it helped me get started on the right foot, and helped me apply a lot of the things that I was learning to my marriage, to my family and raising my kids, to my business. So I am grateful that I was able to start my passion for learning this stuff early on. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't at that time think about becoming a life coach. It was just something that I loved doing. And I knew that I loved learning. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that I loved sharing what I learned. So I come from a family
Mm-hmm.
of teachers. Like, my grandmother was a teacher, and my father was a principal. My mom's a teacher. My sister's a teacher. We come from a family of teaching. So teaching is like, it's in my blood. And even though I didn't exactly become a teacher, I mean, I did homeschool my kids, for a lot of their schooling, but
Sure.
I still have that kind of innate desire to, like, just learn and grow. And I think all teachers have that, and
Mm-hmm.
also share it.
Mm-hmm.
So, through the years, I did, had my kids, my business, and during COVID, where everything kind of stopped, and I kind of, got into a little bit of, there was so much uncertainty. It was such a crazy time,
Mm-hmm.
so much uncertainty, so much fear. We didn't know what was happening. This was a new virus. We didn't know what to expect. And I live kind of in the epicenter of where it was happening in the beginning when it came to the US. So it was kind of scary. People that I knew were getting sick. There were people that I knew that were dying. So it was just a very scary time. So I kind of spiraled a little bit in the beginning. But then after a few weeks, I just decided that I was not going to turn on the TV for a while, no social media. And I just started implementing a lot of the things journaling again, doing my affirmations, a daily routine of exercise. And it's been in the back of my mind. I started researching coaching. And eventually I came upon the Jay Shetty certification program, and I had been following Jay for a while, and
Mm-hmm.
I love his videos
Yeah.
that he have. And so the more I learned about the program, the more it resonated with me. I just felt like
Mm-hmm.
it was the right mix of knowledge and tools and being able to help with people, but it also brings in the spiritual component, which I think is important. And it really prepares you to work with clients and to help people. So it really, that's how I decided to join that program. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's been really life-changing. And I am so grateful for this whole journey that I've been on, and led me to meet you. And here we are today.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Obviously, you've been always in the personal development. You always been you mentioned the teaching is in your blood. Obviously, there's something that is that you craving that particular part of teaching. Obviously, you mentioned that you had your own business. You left the corporate world, became a full-time mom, and obviously taking care of your business as well. And now you're doing the life coaching. How how you were able to identify what are the next steps, because it seems like you define very well whatever phase in your life you've been doing, and you're able to identify it when you were able to move on. It
Right.
seems like you're really spot on when you're like, okay, it's time for me to go into a different direction,
Right.
where now people oftentimes they have a hard time to decide what they want to do. Like, is this right for me? You mentioned at the end, like, like for me, it felt like it's the right thing for me to do. So how are you able to identify every phase of your life when
Right.
you're like, okay, this is what I need to do?
Right. Well, I think that timing is everything. And sometimes, I've heard it said, you can have it all, just not, maybe not at the same time. And I think that for me, I had to experience everything that I've experienced throughout the years in order to get this
Mm-hmm.
way and become an effective life coach, be able to make an impact. And the
Mm-hmm.
timing was right for me this year,
Mm-hmm.
actually this month. It's a really full circle for me, because this month in October is our 25th year in business, in the business that my husband and I have. And the same month, I became certified as a life coach. Um,
Nice.
and my kids are older now. My oldest is going to be 21. I have a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old. So like the timing is just perfect. It's just a natural, progression for me. And it's brought the world so it's made it so much smaller, because it's amazing that in a time of where we're all isolated because of because of COVID, and we're all in quarantine, and our time with our loved ones and our family members is limited. We can't visit, we can't hug, we can't whatever. I've been able to connect with people all over the world, and that's something I've never done before. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
coached or worked with people in Australia, in South Africa, in Germany, in England, and it's been, and all over the country and all over the US, obviously. And that for me has been phenomenal to be able to connect with so many different people from all over the world.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice. That's pretty amazing. First of all, congratulations to you and your husband on 25 years on the business, right? You obviously have endured quite a bit. It's 25 years, and obviously you're becoming a life coach now, part of the Jay Shetty, and we're part of the alumni, which I don't know if a lot of people knows, but they missing out a lot. Because
Yeah.
I remember for me at least, yeah. I mean, for me, when I didn't want to leave the school until Bill, my supervisor, he's like, Omar, you gotta get out of here. In a good way, right? He didn't mean it. He's like, Omar, there's more up there. It's like, you gotta get out of here. No, but I'm loving it. It's like, no, there's more over there, man. So you gotta get out of here. I didn't comprehend, but now I'm like, man, I was just missing out. I was just like hanging in there just because they, like you mentioned community, right?
Mhm.
You mentioned community is being such a huge part of the life that you are creating. And
Yeah.
obviously, you're a life coach, a personal development life coach. And for me, it's very, very intrigued because, like I said, for me, personal development, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. But when you think about personal development, not many of us are able to really invest in our own personal development. We're not willing to put in not just the work, but really, really like doing whatever it takes in order for us to make it happen.
Right.
What make you go for the personal development?
Right. Well, for me, I'm a personal development and relationship coach, because I just feel it's the relationships that we have, and the person that you choose to be your partner is very important in just the overall quality of your life. If this is people
Mm-hmm.
that you spend
Yes.
your time with, but at the end of the day, you have to work on the relationship with yourself. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's the beginning. So it's very important to work on your personal development and your own personal growth, because that's really what we only have control over. We can't
Mm-hmm.
control other people. We
Yeah.
we we have we can only control our own actions, our own behaviors, and we need to be clear on, we don't come with an owner's manual. There's no such thing as an owner's manual. We're just kind of learning and, kind of going through the motions. So
Mm-hmm.
in my coaching, a lot of times people will just do what is expected of them. They'll go to
Mm-hmm.
school, then maybe they'll go to college, they'll go study what their parents want them to study, and maybe they'll get married because that's what's expected of them. Maybe they'll have kids just because it's what's expected of them. And everybody just kind of does what they're supposed to do, or they think they're supposed to do, or what's expected of them. And as long as that's what you want, that's fine. But it's very important to develop self-awareness and to be clear on who you are, first of all, and be clear on what your own gifts and talents are, what your strengths are, to be very clear on that, and to be clear on what your values and your principles are. Because if you're not clear with that for yourself, how are you going to know who you're looking for in a relationship? Right? So you have to be it has to start with you. It has to start with you. Because let's face it, when you have a relationship with someone, it's not a perfect person and you're not a perfect person. So we have to be clear on what they bring, who you are and what your faults are, what your strengths are, what your faults are. And then once you have a relationship with someone, you're clear on what their faults are, what their strengths are and everything. And your expectations have to be clear, because you're not going to go into a relationship and say, okay, now you're going to change. You have to kind of accept people as they are, and together you grow together. But it all starts with the individual. It all starts with you, with your mindset, with knowing your values, your strengths, and your expectations, and maintaining and controlling, managing that.
Yeah, this is really, really awesome, and I wanna take a pause here, because for me it is very crucial. For me, you touch on a topic that for me, it's getting me in the flow, and I love when I start getting like this, because for me it's like I love this. Like me personally, I really, really love personal development. People is like, but how do you like? I didn't have any other choice. For me, personal development is like I'm craving it now. Like I wanna. I'm really intrigued to discover more about myself more than anything else. And you touching that topic, you gotta look at yourself in the mirror. And start getting that whole entire mirror that you have, so you can see a little more clear, right? And the second thing you mentioned is like you had to know your strengths and your values. And oftentimes I tell people, I'm like, what are your strengths? What are your values? And it is really easy to tell someone else's values and strengths, right? And especially the people that we follow and we admire, right? If I have somebody that really enjoys Jay Shetty's content, and I said, what is his values? They'll be able to tell me what are their values without skipping a bit. But when you ask somebody personal, what are your values? What are your strengths? They're like, I think it's resilience. I think it's love. I think and then there's no definition, right? But then you mentioned as well that if you don't know yourself, how you want somebody else, you looking for what you don't know about yourself in that person you attracting it. But then when that person starts getting to know themselves more, obviously start creating something different than the picture you have in your head, and then everything starts just like becoming just like crazy.
Yeah, and it's also knowing your strengths, but also knowing your faults and accepting yourself and your faults. You learn and you use each opportunity to learn and grow and try to do better next time, but also forgiving yourself, accepting yourself. Okay, I have these faults, because we all do. We're not perfect. And even in the personal development, you're going to learn, but you're not going to stop learning. No matter what age you are, there's more. It's life is not linear. It's a journey, and growth is not a switch. It takes time. Growth takes time. I mean, if just in general, and anybody, if you look at nature, like if you look at a baby when they're born, you take a picture, and then on their first birthday, you take a picture of that same baby, they look completely different. Because growth, it happens slowly, but it happens over time. And before you know it, by doing little things slowly and learning slowly, before you know it, you've grown and you've changed and evolved, hopefully, in a big way, and it's made a big difference. It happens slowly, and we never really stop. But it's very important to acknowledge your strengths and your weaknesses, and that way we can learn from our mistakes and grow. And each lesson, each challenge, use it as an opportunity to learn from it. because even if you do all the right things, we're going to have challenges. That's just life, and we have
Mm-hmm.
to accept that we're going to have challenges. We're going to experience negative things, and that's okay, that we are resilient. Like you said, the word resilient, that's very important, because, we'll be able to get through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really really good. No, no, this is really awesome. I really really me, I'm enjoying it because it's like, well, first before I continue, I want to say that Nisha says that I was fortunate to have been coached by Odette. She's awesome. So
Thank you,
there you go.
Nisha.
See,
Thank you.
you have people that obviously had experienced the type of coaching you do. And before I get to that, I really want to. You mentioned really key points because oftentimes we hear personal development and people just are like, ah, yeah, I just gotta read this book and my life is gonna change. Yes, it's true. If you're willing to put in the work
Right.
and if you understand that it's gonna take time. You mentioned time and how long it's gonna take, you don't know.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, don't think about the end of destination. Think about the visualize the journey, not the results.
Right.
I always tell like the magic, like in the ups and downs, that's where the magic goes. For me, when I visualize something, I'm enjoying this journey. I'm like, I'm having a blast with all this journey that I'm experiencing. Me, personal development, it's something enjoying my own personal development. I was looking at, like I mentioned it prior to go live, and I'm like, man, I was looking at before this pandemic, before it hit, and like honestly, I'm so grateful for this pandemic.
Yeah.
Like you have no idea. It don't get me wrong. I'm really sad. It's really crazy what we experience, not just in the United States, but in Europe and Latin America and everywhere. But I'm so grateful because if it wasn't for it, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I've been always on the go. I've been always on the go, 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 and that's part of me. But when this gave me the stop, I'm like, what can I do? And I was doing this week actually. I'm like, what I've been doing this pandemic. When I start looking at it, I'm like, man, I've been doing a lot.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot, and I'm like, I've been having a blast. I've been enjoying the journey. Like I'm really, really enjoying it. Don't get me wrong; it has been ups and downs, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
More than anything, it's a lot of work. But it has taken time since the pandemic hit in March 16th here in California where I'm at. It's like March 16th, that's when everything started like
Yeah.
stopped. And I'm like, we're 7 months in. What I have done.
Right.
How often do you stop to reflect in your life since you're in development and the personal development? How often do you stop to reflect in your own life, and what do you recommend for people to to reflect in their lives? How often will they do it?
Right. Well, I mean, for me, and I know exactly what you mean about the pandemic. It's awful, and it's still very scary. It's still something that I'm concerned about. But at the same time, I know what you mean, and I am grateful because it's been very transformational, and the people that I've met, and I have been, I've become healthier physically, mentally than ever before. Because of this time, it's kind of just forced us to just stop and reevaluate. So I am very grateful for that. But as it's like you said, you read a book and you feel great, and that's, wow, my life's going to change. But then everything goes back to normal because you go back to your regular life, right? So it's important to just stay in that flow, like you said. For me, what works is a practice of journaling. That really works for me. Being around like-minded people that are into it too, and you can have conversations and are, goal-oriented or whatever it is, that helps too. It's something that you have to develop a consistent practice, like do it consistently, because just reading about it isn't going to make a difference. It might help a little bit, but you have to actually implement things. You have to actually do the work. And in the beginning, we're motivated, but it takes discipline to keep it up and to do it even when you're not motivated, because you can't stay motivated forever. That takes discipline. So you have to see what works for you, and everybody's different. You have to see what works for you. And for me, just being around, like-minded people. This alumni group, you were talking about it before, has been phenomenal. Like, just such a supportive community. And it's been, for me, it's been great at just keeping me in that state, keeping me in this flow.
Yeah.
Been amazing for that. But yeah, for me, journaling, affirmations, just kind of just constantly, and having those conversations and sharing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think you obviously touching like key points. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I'm thinking it's true when you say, yeah, you can read a book, but if you don't take action, it's just nothing. I heard somebody gave me an advice, and it's probably until today, it's probably the best advice I ever heard in my life. Because when that person gave me that advice, I really, really made me think. Because I consider myself a junkie wonder. Junkie wonder meaning, and I wrote a poem because I'm junkie wonder meaning that I'm always for the next book, I'm always for the next audiobook, the next YouTube video, the next this, always the next thing,
Right.
always craving information. And it got to the point when this person was telling me, it's like, Mark, when I have the opportunity to go to do my PhD and my master's, she said, there was a teacher that uh, asked me, why are you working so hard? What are you trying to prove? It's like, well, I'm trying to do, and she responds, well, I'm trying to become more aware. I'm just trying to do my PhD. I'm trying to have my master's, by studying. I need to work. It's like, yeah, but you're sleeping at 12, 1, sometimes waking up at 4, 5 a.m. Do you think it's really worth it? Well, I'm doing what I need to do in order for me to make it happen. It's like, I want you to stop for a second, the teacher said to her. And the teacher asked one question. It's like, tell me, what have you learned? It's 3 months into the program, into the master and PhD. What have you learned? And she's like, well, I respond to the teacher. She's like, well, I told the teacher, well, I'm in the process of learning. I want to become, have my master's and do my PhD, and I'm just learning in the process. And he's like, no, listen. If your habits, the teacher said, if your habits and your behaviors haven't changed, you haven't learned anything.
Yeah.
When she said that penetrated me right there, and I said, ooh, like really, really, like, it's like, for me, it's like, wow.
Right.
So I asked myself that question right in the spot when she said that, and I was like, I gotta stop. So ever since I stopped, like meaning stop, like getting like the next video, the next this, and I said, I need to stop getting more information because I don't need more information. I just need more transformation and start doing. And that's when everything for me starts happening. When I start getting so much, I was like, this is crazy. I just been stopping, and sometimes a little quote. I'm like, how can I apply this quote into my life? How can I make it happen? And you mentioned that too. And it's really crucial because I always tell people, I'm like, you got to do things that fit your lifestyle.
Right.
Right? You have to do things based on the lifestyle that you have. You often say, like, I'm a personal trainer too. You often say, like, you got to go to the gym every day. Right? And people is like trying to go every day, but they never go to the gym. They never been to the gym. And when they try to go every day, they were like, it's really hard. Yes, it's really hard. How many times, if I ask the question, how many times do you think it fits the lifestyle that you have right now? They'll be like, maybe once or two. Let's just start there.
Right.
And it's crucial that you say that. And I think it's really, really, really awesome that you mentioned. I think it's just really, really great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody's different. So it's important to slow down and really evaluate yourself. There's I think it was Einstein that said, if you ask a fish to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life failure,
Yeah.
So everybody's different, and you have to know, if you're a fish, you have to know you're a fish. That's one of the reasons why I homeschooled my kids, because I'm not advocating homeschooling or anything by any means, but, and I'm not against traditional schools by any means, but for me, my 3 children are completely unique. And I didn't want to lose that, the essence of who they are, because, when I didn't want them to just live according to everybody else's expectations. I wanted them to figure themselves out and be true to and learn the most about what they want to learn, and what they're not lose the ability to identify their strengths and their talents. I wanted to nurture that. That was my goal for them. And I think that that's important, because sometimes we just do things because living by default, because everybody expects us to do it. And yeah, maybe your friend was going for that PhD because she just thought, maybe then I'll be happy. Maybe then when I get that, everything's going to work out. But sometimes if you just stop and say, why am I doing this? Why do I really value that? What is it that I'm trying to achieve? What do I think is going to happen once I achieve that? And maybe we'll decide, what, it's important to me, I'm going to do it. But maybe she's going to realize, what, it's not that important to me. It's more important to me, whatever it may be for her. Everybody's different. And that's the key, to be able to really be clear on what's important to you and what you value. And sometimes that takes, like you said, slowing down, just pausing and just analyzing and thinking, and whatever works for you. If you meditate, that might help. If you journal, that might help. But just being clear on why you do what you do, why it's important to you. But slowing down is really important. And sometimes when we don't slow down, the universe slows us down, So
it is totally true. And I think you touch a really, really, really cool point about slowing down. Like, we all been like trying to take a pause, right? Well, guess what? The pandemic did that.
Yes.
Right? How are you going to use it to help you growth, right? Those are the questions that for me, I'm like, how can I take advantage of this? How can I get the best out of this? What can I control? There's nothing I can control about the pandemic besides whatever I do. And when I made peace with that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to use the tools that I have in order for me to continue to grow. Because for me, personal growth is like something. And me, I'm like always craving it. I'm always like trying to overcome and get to know more myself and more of the things that I really enjoy, really like. And sometimes really asking myself, like, do I really like this?
Yeah.
This is really what I want?
Right.
No, it's not what I want, So touching that topic, before I touch on that topic, Alejandra is here. Oh, by the way, for those that don't know, because Alejandra Moron is here.
Hola,
For
Alejandra.
those that don't know, Odette también habla español. Así es que este es un placer, finalmente una persona más que podemos hablar español, podemos conversar en inglés, español, y eso es lo maravilloso de todo esto que a mí me encanta y me gusta, ¿no? También tenemos aquí a Jessie, que también es parte del Genius Community, y pausing, ella habla del pausing, but it's just amazing that I didn't even know that you spoke Spanish. That blew my mind. That blew my mind.
Yes, I'm Cuban, and I love it. And I love that we can, speak in both languages and actually reach people in both languages, because I can offer my coaching in both English and Spanish. So that's a blessing. And yes, I was excited to speak to you. And we chatted a little bit in Spanish, and that was exciting.
Me sorprendió mucho cuando tú me empezaste a hablar en español. Yo dije, wait a second, like, what's going on over here? Like, how come you didn't even know? Like, when people start speaking Spanish to me, I'm like, how come you never say anything? Like, it's not like, like, my first language is Spanish, So,
soy cubana.
Perfecto, ¿no? Qué bueno, muchas gracias. Dice Jessie, también ya puede escuchar español. Fíjate, ella nomás lo escucha, no lo habla. No, ella también lo habla. Fíjate que esta Jessie y yo nos conocimos aquí en San Francisco. Ella vive en Washington, D.C. Ella vino una vez to San Francisco, and we were part of Genius. We just she's like, hey, I'm going to San Francisco. Let's meet up. And I think I was the only one who responded. I don't know how many people responded. I'm like, yeah. And then that's how we got to know each other.
Oh, wow.
And we're talking about community. Yes. And that's what Jay Shetty is creating. Absolutely. About in regards of the community, the how everything is evolving around us, thanks to a person that is very, very humble, like me personally. I got the blessing to get to know him personally when it comes down to, or it's not like my friend, but to me in person. And it's like, I'm like, I never seen somebody so aware in my life. I never met anybody aware, so humble, and more than anything, happy.
Happy, yeah. Yeah,
And
he's been able to learn what he learned when he was his time as a monk, but then kind of bring it to the traditional world and share it with us, and how we can learn. I have my book right behind me, and share those qualities and make it applicable to just regular, real quote unquote, traditional life. And that's amazing, that he's able to do that.
Yeah. Now, I have one question for you. I want you to tell us, what are tips that you can give to somebody that doesn't, that feels stuck for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. They just feel stuck. They're just not able to pass that particular feeling or situation. What would be some tips that you can give to that person so they can start?
Right.
They take the baby steps, right? We're talking with the small steps, not like go and just like do 20 things, right? But like, what would be the baby steps that person can take to overcome that obstacle that at the moment not able to, do not allow them to go in that direction that they would love to.
Right. Well, a lot of times, you mentioned before anxiety. And a lot of times when we lack motivation, or we feel stuck, or even when we have anxiety, it's because there's so much uncertainty. There's so many things that we can't control. And a part of us wants to have that control, and we can't, because there's many things we can't control. And we're focusing on what we can't control, and we're just become overwhelmed by that. And we just spend our time thinking about that. And that's what brings on the anxiety, because we're just focusing on the things that we cannot control. So if you need time to accept, I don't know, there's things that I can't control, and just focus on things that you can control, things that are within your control, and just stay there. But when it comes to motivation, the main thing is stopping, slowing down, and thinking about your why. Think why it's important to you. Think why it's important to you. Whatever it is that you want to do, determine why it's important to you, and think about how your life would change if you did accomplish that. That's the beginning. That's how you have to start. But then, like you said, implement baby steps. You have to break it down, baby steps. We can walk across the George Washington Bridge, but we're not going to leap there. If we try to leap there, jump there, you're not going to make it. You have to take one step at a time. So just break it down to one small step, and you just build on that. I don't know. For me, one of the things, making your bed in the morning. For me, I make my bed every morning. I make my kids make their bed. It's a little thing, but you make your bed in the morning, and you've already accomplished something. You already have a sense of accomplishment. You're already beginning the inertia of accomplishing something. It got to start somewhere. So just whatever it is you want to do, just break it down to the smallest step that you can take. And just remember your why, and then develop the discipline, because we're not always going to be motivated. Motivated, just a fact. We in order to keep the motivation, you can maybe have an accountability partner, have somebody that you can have hold you accountable. Talk to them on a regular basis, come up with a plan so they can hold you accountable. But the bottom line, you have to develop the discipline and the practice to do it, even when you're not motivated. New Year's Eve, everybody has their New Year's resolution, right? And gym memberships in January are like through the roof, right? Everybody joins the gym in January. Everybody's like, I'm going to lose, 30 pounds or whatever it is. And then what happens by March? You didn't do it, So because it's hard to stay motivated, it's very difficult to stay motivated. So you have to just break it down into baby steps, and just take it one day at a time, one day at a time, and just create the discipline. If you want to do it or not, create that habit and that discipline, and remind yourself of your why, and find ways to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, this is really, really awesome. Thank you for sharing, because all those things, obviously, that you mentioned, me personally, I've read them in books.
Right.
I read that in books. I mean, when it comes down to personal development, I remember reading a book when it tells like, do your bed in the morning. It will give you that full feeling you accomplished something. I'm like, I never done it. So when I try, I'm like, actually it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Actually, it totally
You
makes a
have to do it
difference.
every day. You have to develop the habit of doing it every day,
And
right?
it becomes a habit for me.
Yeah.
It's like if I don't do it, like there's not a day that I don't do it. I just
Right.
became a habit
Right.
because I'm like, it feels good.
Right.
It feels good. Yeah, at the beginning it was like, oh man, I gotta do the bed. I'm like, but then it becomes a habit. It's like, it's
And it's one
okay.
less thing to think about. Like you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah,
It's one less thing to worry
hmm
about. Once
yeah,
you make that habit, you don't even think about it. It's like you wouldn't leave without brushing your teeth in the morning because it would feel uncomfortable. So once you make it
hmm
a habit, you're gonna do it because you're gonna feel uncomfortable not doing it.
hmm Now the second thing you mentioned, obviously, it's have somebody that holds you accountable. And I want to stop here because for me, that's the second thing the second book, and I remember this book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. It's one of my favorites, and it's the second book that I ever read in my life. I never read a book, personal development, until I was 30. I never read a book, and as a matter of fact, I never read a book, not even from school. At school, forget about it. But no, I'm serious. I'm being honest here, like really, really, totally honest. So when I read my second book, and that book told me when you're the average of the five people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
When I read that, I really, really, really asked myself so many questions, and I'm like, I gotta change.
Yeah. Have
I
you heard?
gotta do
I know.
something.
I know Cubans say, "Dime con quién estás y te diré quién eres."
There you go.
There
See,
you go, right?
see,
It's the same thing. Tell
it's the
me who
same.
you're with, and
So
I'll tell you who you are, and that's so true. That's so true,
it
and that's
is.
why community is so important too.
Hmm
That's why that sense of community is so important, and being, in that alumni community is important to keep you in the flow and keep you focused
hmm
and motivated.
Yeah, and and the reason why I want to go back to the five people you surround yourself with, because if you think about it, when we ask people, edit yourself. Who's the five people that you communicate the most?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like who is besides yourself? I talk to myself all the time. Like that counts too. I count myself too because I'm like I'm talking to myself all the time. I'll be honest with you. I'm
yeah.
enjoying it. Sometimes the conversations I have with myself are some of the most geniuses I ever had in my life. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, because there's no, but what I'm saying is just like the
I
people that I
talk to
surround
myself
myself.
too. My kids make fun of me because I have full conversations with myself.
Yeah, yeah, and there's nothing in between it, and I think it's great. I'll tell people, I'm like, you gotta talk to yourself, get to know yourself,
Yeah,
and it's very crucial. So the five people you surround yourself, you're gonna become part of that. So when
right.
I did that whole entire assessment, I was like, oh boy,
Hmm.
like it was scary, and I think that's one of the things that we are really, really afraid of, to to facing reality,
Hmm.
right? To facing that reality when you start editing who are you hanging out with, whether it's your family, it doesn't matter. Like whoever is the five people you surround yourself. That's the average that you are. That's the reality.
Yeah,
It is no, there's no, there's. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. But really, really ask yourself, like, do I really, like, is this really people helping me
right.
be where I wanna be?
Right. Sometimes it serves as a good mirror for us, and a reminder, like,
Yes.
is this what I want? But going back to what you said, and you mentioned family, I feel like that's why it's so important, um, before you even start a family, as far as your partner and your children and all that, to have that, to be clear on your values and who you are, and start on your personal development, so that when you're raising your family and your kids, that's we are their tribe. You are their tribe. We creating a
Mhm.
tribe. I have 3 kids, so that there's 5 people right there. You're creating your tribe, and you're sharing those values and instilling them with your kids. It's going to ripple, that ripple effect. It's going to trickle down, to the kids. It's
Mhm.
very important when you're starting your family, even to look at those things and to evaluate together with
Mhm.
your partner, to evaluate your goals and your vision for your life, and make sure that you're on the same page with that.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it's very very important. You mentioned, right? You mentioned obviously you have a beautiful family. You keep mentioning your family.
Thank you.
How Well, before we jump into another question, obviously Jesse está hablando un poco español. Vamos a hablar un poco de español. Dice, yo estoy alrededor de los mentores de los
Me
libros
encanta Napoleon Hill también.
Jay Shetty, Darren Darry, and Napoleon Hill and Louis House. I'm assuming it's Louis House, which are those are great. Those are great.
Excellent. Excellent.
Great resources for me. Napoleon, when I read Napoleon Hill, it really changed my perspective about money. I was like,
Yeah.
oh boy,
Yeah.
I have. And you mentioned you're I have so much. My mind is blowing right now. But like you mentioned relationships, and right now we're touching the topic with Napoleon Hill. Obviously, the relationship we have money. And now we kind of, for me, in the beginning was relationship and personal development. But now everything is a relationship.
Yeah.
We have a relationship with everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have how in the world you came out with that correlation? Because I'm really intrigued. Like I'll be honest with you, I'm really intrigued how you came out with that correlation that you want to make both enhance. And I want to emphasize enhance because we often think the relationship is like just like you just supporting and doing the best they can for that person when in reality you had to do what you think is best for you. You had to, the other person has to do best with you and still supporting each other so they can both go
Right.
at their own pace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just so important. Everybody's looking. Everybody wants to feel loved. Everybody wants to feel accepted. Everybody wants to have a sense of community, even if it's not, even if you don't want to get married or have a partner, a romantic partner, you want to have a sense of community and friendship and all that. But it's very important that you work on your own personal development, your own personal growth, and you're just clear on what your values are and what matters to you and what's important to you, because then you can identify when you meet someone and there's somebody that is not in alignment with your values. You're not going to invest your time in building a relationship with that person because they're just not in alignment with your values.
Mm-hmm.
And relationships are just important to us as human beings in general. It's very important. So I think it's very, very related. And a lot of times we want to, especially moms, let's just say, we want to take care of everyone and we want to nurture everyone and we're just, all about them, but we need to take the time to think about our own self-care and our own, so we have to do our best in order to give them our best selves. You can't give from an empty cup. So you have to work on yourself, but we all crave a relationship. It's just human nature. So in order to just, have a relationship that you want, you have to figure out what that looks like. In order to create a life that you want, you have to first determine what that looks like. You have to have that vision for your life, right? Which would be your goals and your vision for your life. But then when you are clear on what your strengths are and all of that we talked about a little bit, and your values and your principles, that serves as your compass. So even if you hit a detour along the way and things don't go smoothly, which they won't, because that's the way life is, you're still going to be okay because you're clear on who you are and you're clear on where you're headed. And that's what's important, so that's that. I think that's important in a relationship. That's important in applying it to your family when you're raising kids. It's important in general, even in a job or in a business. When you're building your business, you have to figure out what the values of the business are, for what's the mission statement for your business. What are your standard operating procedures? That's including our personal goals and principles. It's in our personal life. That's very important to start with that foundation. So I think that relationships and personal development is really connected, very connected.
No, this is awesome. I think you touched on really really good points. Like they are really connected. We're human, we social animals. We crave each other. We had to help each other, support each other. And I think it's wonderful the fact that that you've been giving so many great tips. At least for me, I'm like, oh, I resonate a lot with this because it's true, and I try it, and I implement it in my life. Me personally, I had implemented it, and I know how powerful they are. And oftentimes, I tell, I say to people, just because you started here, and you were here, right? You did all this in order for you to get here. Well, if you want to continue to go up, you still got to do all this and more.
Right.
It's not like I did this and then, oh, it worked. Let's do the next thing.
Oh, yeah.
We're going into the next, and once again, we're going to the next thing, thinking that like, so for me, those are the things that I see the patterns, and I'm like, oh, I did this. This is what worked before.
Right.
How can I bring this into my life? And how can I continue to bring it to continue to help me? And just say, play to your strengths is very crucial. When it comes down to personal development, it's very crucial to play to your strengths. Like, for example, myself, I started playing it with my strengths, and I'm like, man, this has been such a fascinating process. But I'm like, what would have happened if someone would have told me like 10 years ago, play to your strengths?
Yeah.
instead of finding out to the process. But me personally, I'm really grateful for the whole entire journey. I always tell people, I'm like it doesn't matter what, you always has done the right decision. It's
Right.
always been the right decision. Whether it's you think it's good or bad, it's always been the right decision.
Yeah.
And they're like, why? I'm like, because if it wasn't for that decision, I wouldn't be here with you.
Right.
If
Yeah.
something wouldn't be something different, I wouldn't be here. So it's always been the right decision. Hey, I may not agree, I may not like it, but it's always been the right decision. And when I start making peace myself, when I start making peace with that, I was like, oh, I like this. I like this. Now, changing the subject a little bit, you obviously a life coach now. What is your ideal client, and what are you looking for, and what kind of impact you're trying to create as a life coach now?
Yeah. So my ideal client would be someone that's looking for direction, someone that's looking for clarity, someone that maybe feels stuck or stressed and they're just kind of going through the motions. Someone that perhaps is trying to balance family and work. They don't feel fulfilled because they're not balanced. We have to keep our lives in balance. So anyone that's willing to do the work and commit, to doing the work and to change if necessary, or to develop that self-awareness, who's willing to do the work and develop that self-awareness, but is looking for direction, get to know themselves on a deeper level and kind of create their vision for their lives, that want to create their vision for their lives by developing that self-awareness. That's what would be my ideal client. And what I like to
That is, yeah, that is a very powerful someone that is looking for clarity. And I think a lot of people, I tell them, you have everything you need. You just need more clarity.
Right. Who wants to they have the answers. They have the answers. So, we all want to become our best selves, but before you can do that, you have to know what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to take the time to figure out what that looks like for you, because it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
You can't let someone else tell you what your best self will be. You have to figure that out for yourself, and only you have the answers.
Yeah. You obviously, like I mentioned earlier, it's really admirable to hear that you had 25 years with your business, right? You're going into 25 years. Like, what would be a key point that you think has helped you have the success that you guys have? Obviously, with your husband as a family business. What do you think is the key point that has helped you stay for that long? Obviously, having a business is not it's really challenge. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I want to be my own CEO. When they realize like it's a lot of work, it's like, I really don't want to do that, right? But you 25 years for me I'm really intrigued. Like I like throw me some wisdom bombs because I really I'm like I'm gonna apply this. Like, so whoever is watching, take notes, because this is really key. This is the cherry on the cake. So.
So it is a lot of work, and it does take time. You have to be patient, and you have to learn from the things that go well and the things that don't go well. It's a learning
Mhm.
process. It's not an overnight success. There's no such thing. I'm sorry, but there's no such thing. And first of all, my husband and I, we've been always very clear on the vision that we've had for our business and what matters, what's important for our business, and incorporating our family. Our kids are very much, a part of it too. And what I would tell someone that's maybe in a career or starting a business is one reason, the main reason why we've been in business for so long is the relationships that we have, going back to relationships with our customers, with our clients. It's nurturing those relationships. We really form lifelong relationships, long-term relationships, I should say, with our clients. And our clients are our ambassadors. They're the ones that refer us our business, and that's what it's been. It's nurturing those relationships. At the end of the day, that's what I mean by you have to be clear on what your intention is, whether it's in your business or your life in general, or your marriage or your family. You have to be clear of the basics, so that you know how you're going to run your life, how you're going to live your life, or how you're going to run your business. But those relationships that we've nurtured and through the years are what have maintained us for this long and helped us grow. It all goes back to relationships, Omar, you see?
you you just like it's I always tell people, I'm like, if you aiming for the money, you just gonna find yourself in a different situation. And me personally, people ask me, so how you creating your business? I'm like, everything is word of mouth. And what I mean by that is like, it's the relationships you have with the person that you're serving.
Yeah.
And the fact that you say that, I was like, whoa, this
Yeah.
is this is this is this is crucial. And for me, it's like a really 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 like opera to my ears, that it counts and just like, oh, I like this Luna Automobile,
Yeah. And you
and
know
it's
what?
really.
When you focus on that and you focus on what's important and you come from that place and that intention, and you do the right things, let's say now with our life coaching, and we are really focused on our clients, which we are, and offering them value, and we genuinely want to help them and serve them. As a byproduct, the money comes. That part of it comes as a byproduct when you do the right thing and you come from the right place. That's what I feel. That's what I believe.
Excellent. Well, this is really awesome. You just got me really high. I'll be honest with you. You just got me really high. Like, no, I'm serious. Like, it gets me. It's like for me, it's like it gets me high. Like it gets me that energy. And for me, it is a blessing for me to be able to share these moments and this energy with you. I'm really grateful for your time and energy and all these wisdom bombs that you share with us. Now, is there anything that you want to share with the audience? That we haven't touched, you would like to add before we close the session?
The only thing that I would add possibly is one big thing that I learned. I learned so many big things throughout this journey and this process through the program. But the one big thing is, I'm a mom. I'm also an older sister. So I'm like, used to telling people what to do and giving advice and that type of thing. And I've learned the power of just listening, like just being quiet and listening. It's so powerful. It's so
Mhm.
powerful. So that would be one little nugget that I would say, to just, take the time, slow down, be quiet, and just listen. And the answers come, the answers come.
Thank you. That is an amazing advice, and I hope that whoever, like, for those that are watching, thank you so much for joining us, and it's really a blessing to hear. And when Odette's relating to listening, it's not just listening to others. I always tell people, like, listen with empathy, so you can
Yeah.
see with clarity,
Right.
you know. But it's more than anything, listen to yourself.
Right.
Really, really listen to yourself, so you can, you know, you can create whatever you have in your head. Listen to those voices in your head and learn those voices are helping me become the human being that I want to be.
Right.
I think that is really, really crucial. And before we part, where can people find you? And if you want to help us, I have a few things. I have the whole entire list. I never had a this entail.
All my info. So people can find me on my website, odettecoronel.com. I'm
Hmm.
also on Instagram, Odette Coronel Coaching, and on Facebook, Odette Coronel Coaching also on Facebook. And if you want to just email me directly, I'm at lifecoach@odettecoronel.com.
There
Yeah.
you go. We have
On
we
my
have
website, there's access to all of it. So that might be the easiest, odettecoronel.com.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much. And I truly, truly appreciate the energy and all the information you shared with us. And me personally, I resonate a lot with that. It just really
Yeah.
got me pumped. So I'm really, really excited now. Thank you so
And I
much
just
for your
want to
time.
thank you, Omar. This has been amazing. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the support. You've been very supportive from the first time that we connected. And I thank you. And I watch your other show too with Carolina, and you inspire me. So I thank you
Thank you.
for your support and for inviting me on the show. It's been a blast. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for those that participated today. Jesse, Alejandra,
Thank
Nisha, and everyone else that is hidden behind the camera. I really, really want to thank you. And we're trying to just bring you people to hope that they can bring you something into your life, and you understand that you're not alone. Reach out to somebody. We're here to support you. We're here to help each other. We help to motivate each other, and we just got to continue to stay together because together is better. Me personally, I really truly believe that together is better, and I'm really grateful for your time. And I will see you guys next time. See you next week with someone. I have someone special next week, and this is it's gonna blow your mind for those parents. You don't want to miss it. I have Miss Mitchell, and
Oh,
I'm so excited.
yeah.
Mitchell is coming next week, and I'm so excited, looking forward for those parents. So if you have a parent, a parent, please share this page. Just share with everyone because Mitchell is coming to
Really
town,
great.
and I'm just so excited to have her. And obviously, thank you so much for being here with me, and it's been a pleasure. Nita. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. Take care.
All right.
Bye.